bonjour tout le monde, ici Roxana de Tvqc.Métal. Je suis présentement avec monsieur Tuomas Saukkonen de Before the Dawn. How, Tuomas? How are you doing?
I'm tired. But fine.
Yeah,
tired, but fine.
But busy. You're tired, but it's a good thing.
I'm tired because being busy, so it's a good reason to be tired. I wasn't this tired like the past 2 years, so I'm not complaining being busy and tired now.
Can you tell me a little bit about the background of the band? Because you have been in the industry since 1999, and you have a long, I was doing like 10 years. What's bringing back this project that you put aside for so long?
Now that you mentioned 99, I might also be tired because I'm so old. So that
experience.
Yeah, I experienced. The thing is, like, we were never supposed to do a comeback. We buried the band almost 11 years ago, and it was supposed to stay buried. But then Paavo, the new vocalist, performed one of our old songs. One song from an album that came out 2007, so super old one. And he performed that in Voice of Finland.
Yeah.
And that kind of like started the whole process. And I started to be in contact with him, and I suggested that like we could do some musical project together. I might have some ideas and riffs that could fit for his voice. We went to the studio, we finished the song, and immediately when the song was ready, the first thing in my head was like, this sounds like Before the Dawn. So that everything leading to that moment was just accidents in a row, just unforeseen events. And then I started making phone calls to Juho and Pyry and our sound guy who used to do us like 10 years ago, and he's doing us tonight also.
You did work with the same people?
Yeah. We have the same people, the studio, live, everything. And I was calling everybody like, is this a crazy idea? And everybody was like, oh, sounds good. Let's do this. I think the whole pandemic played a big part because it changed a lot of like people's how they see the industry and how they see themselves. Nobody wants to waste time to anything non-trivial, and if there's something that makes you happy, you want to get it done because you can't take anything for granted anymore.
That's true.
We just lost whole careers for 2 years. So now if something feels good, then you're just gonna do it because who knows
now
what
or never.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that changed a lot of like the whole perspective. So the pandemic, Voice of Finland, very like surprising events led to this comeback. So it wasn't planned at all. First song that was written for Before the Dawn wasn't even written for Before the Dawn.
So it's
that is how less we planned the whole thing.
Paavo is now the new vocalist, as you mentioned, and you took the position behind the drum. So how does it feel to take this position? And is that a personal choice or?
Well, there never could have been a comeback if I would have needed to do growling and guitars, because I already have Wolfheart and we are busier than ever. So like, and I wouldn't want to handle two bands as a frontman anyway. So that would have been like impossible scenario for Before the Dawn come back with me as a singer. And I played drums on almost most of the Before the Dawn albums already. So drumming on Before the Dawn comes very naturally to me. And there's a lot of like, especially the older albums from the Deadlight or the Ghost. There's a lot of songs that I always wanted to play with drums, but I was never the drummer except in the studio. So to me, there's like a huge bunch of songs that I would love to play with drums, and I have no desire of playing in guitar. So to me, it works perfectly. I know it's not that easy thing for other people to see, but I know I've gotten some weird comments about that. But
you actually you are the drummer of it, basically. But it's just like the people, they're not used to see that. They used to see you at the front.
I was never that vocal about it because, like, with Deadlight album, for example, we had to fire the drummer in the studio. We started the recordings, and the third day of the studio, we had to tell him, like, this is not going to work out. We don't have any songs that we could even edit to have for the album, so we need to change something, and probably would be best if you go home. So that's not a good press. That's not a good story. So you don't want to talk about stuff like that. So I wasn't that vocal about the whole drumming thing at all because it was not a good promo.
No.
So a lot of people don't realize that I play drums on the albums, and that's how it should be.
Your new album, Stormbringers, will be released at the end of the month, so June 30th.
Yeah.
How would you describe the sound of this album, and why should we listen to it?
Oh, it's a good album. You should listen to all good albums in general, not just ours, but any good album deserves to be at least checked out. I think it sounds very much like Before the Dawn going back to the roots. Because the last album we released, 2011, was something completely different from the rest of the Before the Dawn. Like there was no clean vocals at all. There was a lot of like blast beats, a lot of like faster bass drum. It was that album was my transition to Wolfheart. Basically, to me, that's the first Wolfheart album. That was just the final album I had to do because it was my process of like letting go of the band. So, but to me, it's first Wolfheart album already. It doesn't fit to any of the past releases of. But then again, any song from the new album could fit to any of the older albums of Before the Dawn. So
we can hear the similarities with the first album and the last album of Before the Dawn. That makes sense now. The festival season is now open. So what is your perception of touring after 2 years of a pandemic?
A lot more complicated. Like
how?
I'm not just talking about myself. I know a lot of people. Some people were just anxious to get back on road, but some people, like probably me, actually got used to be home. I like to do some other things now also that I was always wanting to do more, and I finally had the time to put like more time for the drum rehearsal, fishing, outdoors that I love to do. I don't want to keep that up as much anymore that I used to. And also, I think the complications with the touring play a bigger part also, that it doesn't feel like home anymore in that sense. It might become that again, but the costs with flying and the buses and everything, merch cuts, fees getting smaller, still a lot of festivals and venues like trouble financially, so of course they are not able to pay the same money. People don't have the same amount of money. The whole world is financially in a different place than it used to be before the pandemic. Now the Ukrainian situation affects very strongly into Europe, the A market area with the German-speaking countries. That's looks like it's selling less tickets than the whole rest of Europe, which is a huge like a factor in when it comes to touring in general. So it's so much more complicated. So financial problems create other problems also. It's not you are not that relaxed on road when every night you need to look at the merge Excel sheets that are we breaking even. It takes a lot of the fun away when it's not just the band's financial risk, but it's also yours. And it of course affects your personal life. You don't want to go home empty-handed because you have bills to pay and rents. So it kind of like it amps up in different directions.
What's the best show or tour you ever played, and why was it so special for you?
I think it was this is weird answer compared to what I just said, but the best tour was the previous North American tour. Because we did the European tour, but that showed the complications. That tour showed all the complications with the costs and the ticket sales and everything. But then the North American tour was the completely the opposite. As a tour itself, it was really good financially. Merch went super well, the best sales we ever got with merch. And the touring company, especially sharing the bus with Fleshgard Apocalypse, I think that's the best thing for any band to happen, is to be on tour with Fleshgard, because there's such a nice people to tour with. Of course, the whole package was good, like Obscura and Thulhandra were also awesome guys. So you really rarely find yourself in a package with not a single difficult person. Like there's always the one or always the two, but it was super good. But of course, that when we came back home, then the reality kicked in, and now in the future, touring in North America will be a lot more complicated. The visa costs are probably going to get a lot higher. The merch cuts are getting more and more often things to happen. Buses and gasoline is completely different than it was 3 years ago. So there's the whole industry is still just question marks.
Yes.
So, but as a tour, I think that was the best thing that could have happened to the band in these circumstances that we are living at the moment.
The internet has definitely changed the music industry. How do you feel about it?
Well, the whole music industry has been changing since the music was invented. So, to me, I see it like fighting against windmills situation, because, yeah, first we had the vinyl, then we had the cassette, then we had the CD. Now we have mainly everything on streaming. There's every era in music business had their own challenges. I don't think any of them were easier or more like financially productive to bands. You just have a different tools in different times. Of course, I would like to make more money with streaming. I would have wanted to make more money with regular royalties back in the days. Back in the days, you have to sell a shitload of albums to make good money for the whole band. So it wasn't easy back then. It's called music business.
Yes.
The business is there to make the money, and that's how it's always been. It's just the different ways for the artist to get the money. And like, if you just want to start like listing problems, then I think you are looking at the wrong way. You just need to learn to use
it properly.
Use them as tools and learn how to use them, and mainly focus on the music itself. Like, I believe if you make good enough music, that will always find listeners if you do a proper job promoting the music. If you used all the time you spend online or somewhere ranting and complaining about the music business to actually promote your music, I think everybody would get a little bit further. Like, I would understand if there would be some kind of like a promise of something getting better with complaining. I haven't seen that. Just use that energy to be productive. So, yeah, learn to be a better musician. That opens up more doors for your personal career. Spend more time with the songwriting. You will get better with that. Do more promotion online. Why use your energy to something completely useless and negative? I never understood complaining in any like. You
have to work to get your results. Work harder. If it doesn't work, change something or just evolve. Do you have any advice for young musicians starting in the today's industry?
What I've seen happening in the past 10 years, I would hope a lot of like young artists would spend more time with the actual work, like rehearsing to be a better musician, learning to use the internet and the promotion. Like, it's too easy nowadays to become like a releasing artist, because you can just find a label that asks you 2,000 euros and they release your album, do shitty promotion, and you put yourself in the league of the big bands way too early. It's like if you want to be a good boxer, or like MMA fighter, there's certain steps you need to do to evolve as a fighter, as an athlete, to be able to challenge the ones that are already on top. If you go in the ring too early, you're gonna get beaten up.
Yes.
And then what I usually see that people are complaining, then all this internet and it's streaming, and it's just like, it was a little bit more simple back in the days when you released the first demos. You did the CDRs or whatever. You had the 4 songs, and then you had some like demo review parts in the magazine. So you had like there was more clearer sections, and the label were more picky of releasing the albums and signing bands because they were investing more money than they do nowadays. It's like a thing of the day that there are a lot of labels that they will release anything if you pay them.
Yes.
That changed also a lot of like they are flooding the markets with the bands that are releasing albums too early. They don't have a fan base yet, and nothing happens. And I don't think that like anybody wins in this scenario. So focus more on the work itself. Understand that there is a lot of work to be done, and if you run before you can walk, you're probably gonna fall down. And that's just how it goes. I've seen that happening hundreds of times. If you go there too early And if you think like you're gonna get some kind of like a trophy or medal because we did it ourselves, and my friend did the recording, and I did the music video myself. It looks shitty, but at least we did it ourselves. Nobody's gonna care. Nothing has changed when it comes to the standards in the industry. Professional level is still professional level, so that never changed. And if you don't reach that, then you need to work more and come out with your music when you are on the same level, because that's how you're gonna be judged. It doesn't like it as itself. It doesn't hold any value as long as the result is professional. Devin Townsend is do-it-yourself kind of guy. Aim to that.
Yes.
Get as close to that. His level of songwriting, production, and because that's where people are going to compare. They're going to put the songs on the playlist on the Spotify, and there's going to be new soil work, Devin Townsend, and your demo band.
Yeah. So, but if it sounds shitty, people's going to skip it, and that's it.
The only thing they're going to judge is it good or shitty. They're not going to go into depths of layers like, well, the production is a little bit thin, but I like drum work in the C part. It's 5 seconds. It's like this of this. So
yeah,
don't put yourself there too early.
Finally, what is the best way to support and help bands these days in 2020?
Gigs and merch. Gigs and merch. Because that's like the direct feedback. Like, of course, you can look at the statistics in Spotify and Deezer, and you can like see that growth gradually getting bigger. But every gig sets the bar somewhere. Like, if you were expecting 50 people, you get 75. That can be a huge boost. If you sold 15 T-shirts instead of 5, you will remember that 2 weeks later, and that's kind of like the band sees the audience. Yeah. It's not just numbers or graphics on a computer screen or label guys just patting your back and saying like, this is the best stuff you ever done.
Yeah.
Like they say, like very easily to a lot of people, especially if they are expecting you to pay for the work and not investing their own money. But yeah, it's like the gigs and super old school, but it does the job. And also more people go to the concerts. It helps the smaller bands to get better deals, get supporting bigger bands, because the promoters are checking mainly the numbers. Of course, they need to make a living with the venue. So yeah, that support carries in a lot of different directions.
Donc, si vous voulez vraiment aider vos artistes, si vous voulez vraiment aider les groupes, peu importe dans quelle musique, il faut acheter la merch, il faut aller voir absolument leur show. Sortez, c'est la seule manière de pouvoir garder la musique en vie. So, Tuomas, the last 30 seconds is yours. You do whatever you want, you say whatever you want to say. Promote yourself. It's your time on the camera.
Everybody, support your local bands and go to see the gigs and buy the merch. Because someday, hopefully, they're going to be the big bands filling the arenas, but at this moment they will need your help, and I think that is the only way for the metal scene to survive this age of streaming and third world war and pandemic and zombies and whatever. So yeah, let's go to the gigs and see some bands and have fun and buy merch.